P321 Man 1 says, moving on quickly, very quickly, 45 minutes in, let's get on to the preview for Tuesday. Bottom of the table, Portsmouth travel to Home Park for the Dockyard Derby, or as I prefer to call it, the Ian Foster Derby. Yeah, there we go. Another mention for Mr. Fozzie. We are doing, obviously, as we go live the day after every game, 8 p.m. on Wednesday. We are hoping to be joined. I'm not going to say who because it's not officially been confirmed, but we're going to be joined by how do I say this? A Argyle and Portsmouth legend who has been on the pod previously to review that game. So that narrows it down.
That was a bit like Ryan Lowe trying to describe a trialist, Aaron, without saying who it was and making it very obvious who it was. I think is what you've done there. He also played number 7 for Argyle on the right midfield, if that helps anybody at all.
Yeah, I'd love nothing more than to be like Ryan Lowe. So that brings me happiness. Joe, what sort of reaction do we need on Tuesday, or do we not need a reaction at all? Because Saturday was fine.
No, we'll need a reaction. Sam's right. We're going to see a totally different team. We're going to see a totally different starting lineup to this game. Fingers crossed that Adam Randall is over his knock. I wasn't on post Preston. I actually didn't quite rate his performance as highly as other people seem to rate his performances on a weekly basis in that game. I copped a fair bit of stick from the people who sit around me at the game for constantly berating Randall in that game, but I felt it was justified. But yeah, we hope he's back, and I think it might have even been John or maybe even Ben who made the reference in our group chat that when Randall plays well at the moment, we seem to really get going. That's he seems to be the one that makes us tick at the moment. So we obviously hope he's back. What we're going to do at the back, I haven't got a clue. I've no idea what the back line would be like. Well, we defended for 70 minutes on Saturday, John. I would argue that, or I argued coming away from Home Park after the Preston game, I never wanted to see a back four again of Barley Mumba, Julio Pleguezuelo, Cornel Such and Victor Poulsen, because I thought we were all over the place for the final 15 minutes of the Preston game. Somehow I suspect that's probably what we're going to be lumped with on Tuesday night, so I'm just going to have to stick with it. Look, we're at home. We're unbeaten in 4. Portsmouth come here in pretty poor form, don't they? I know they got the point at Hull at the weekend, which will be a boost to them. But even after that win the other week, they slipped up the next game, didn't they? Against Sheffield Wednesday in a pretty low quality affair, it has to be said, at Fratton Park. So we don't tend. I'm gonna jinx it now. So get your B button ready, Aaron. We actually seem to have quite a decent record at home in games covered by Sky of late. And of course, we are on SkySports main event or SkySports football on Tuesday night at 8 p.m.
Yeah, we're not the main Sky game, no, are we? Every Tuesday.
We are.
Oh,
no, we are the main. That's why it's an 8 o'clock kickoff. We are the main game this week. So that's obviously something to look forward to. We are massive. I fully expect us to dominate this game. I want us to come out early. I think Rooney needs to tell them to really get the fans behind them in the first 15, 20 minutes, try and get an early goal, get the place jumping. I suspect Portsmouth will possibly come to frustrate us a little bit. I've only seen Portsmouth a couple of times this year. I've seen a number of championship teams more than I've seen them, but I'm not too sure about how John Mousinho will get them going. Trying to predict the starting lineup in this though is a mystery, isn't it? You would suspect. I mean, Whittaker starts. That's a certainty. I think Sissoko starts. I'd be amazed if he doesn't, providing this fanciful Twitter rumor is incorrect. I would think, my gut feeling is Andre Gray might start. I mean, the last 2 games, he's had a progression of 30 minutes, 45 minutes at the weekend. So the natural progression now is 60 minutes, providing there's no ill effects to him. And as for the rest, it's name as you want. I presume JB will come back into midfield. I would put forward Caleb Roberts if Randall isn't fit to get another go. I go back to what I was saying. I thought Caleb acquitted himself pretty well, and actually, it's about time Caleb Roberts played against somebody who wasn't Leeds United. So it'd be a refreshing change for him. But I expect us to come out, dominate the game. I expect this to be a complete polar opposite to what Preston was. We didn't deserve a goal in the Preston game, let alone a point. So that's the performance really that Rooney has to tell them to put behind them here. Is, home form is going to be absolutely vital. In the last home game, we were absolutely awful, and we haven't been that bad at home for a long time. And somehow managed to use our get out of jail free card. So we need to be aggressive. We need to press high, and we need to get in Portsmouth faces and make the night as uncomfortable as we possibly can for them, and try our very best to drag ourselves away from the plight we find ourselves in, and we don't even want to talk about if we lose and if QPR win.
Yeah, John, is November too early to call it a 6-pointer?
No, I think it is absolutely a 6-pointer. Must-win game. It's that simple.
End of.
Good.
Succinct, straight to the point.
Well, classic John, really, isn't it? Not to go on, just to answer the question. And
sorry, if you want me to elaborate, I could explain that you only actually get 3 points for winning a football match, but
yeah, which only came into the EFL in 1981. So the last time we visited Ellen Road or got a win in 1962, we actually only got 2 points, not 3. So we've never picked up 3 points there. I think we have accumulatively. Is that word? There we go. Good. Sam Down. Portsmouth, Dockyard Derby. Wayne Rooney said, every game is a big game. So, yeah, Portsmouth at home, big game. I believe it's a derby game. Also, I'm sure the fans will be right up for it. Dockyard Derby, is it a derby?
No. I like playing Pompey. I think there's always been a little bit of spice ever since the rivalry between Derek Adams and Paul Cook back in the 2015-16 season. As I may have said in this podcast before, I like rivalries that are based on teams having a bit of needle with each other in the league more than I like rivalries based on locality. The Exeter rivalry doesn't really do anything for me personally. I know that a lot of people get quite excited about it. For me, back in that day of being in League Two, I always was more keen to see us beat Wickham or Portsmouth than I was to see us beat Exeter. And like Ipswich as well in the title season and the first year back up, there was a bit of rivalry. I think now that they've got into the Premier League, they're over the hill and far away now from ourselves, sadly. But Pompey, it was quite an intense one for a few years because we were always battling around the same area of the league. Obviously, both Dockyard cities, so even though not a derby. I think a Clásico is the sort of Spanish word for it, which is a rivalry based on previous comings together, perhaps. So it was a needle for sure.
Doesn't it just stem from that late winner at Fratton Park the year we went to Wembley and got beat, where Adams over celebrated on the touchline and it all got unsavoury? And then obviously in the playoffs, Paul Watton and one of Paul Cook's assistants saw red, and
it was Watton and Cook.
I think it was Cook Watton and Cook. Well, it all just got a bit unnecessary. But that's sort of where it stemmed from, wasn't it? But even before that, like when we went there under Shez, I never thought there was really a rivalry to it.
No, I think it stemmed from that fifth. Well, like I said that myself, it stemmed from that 15-16 season to a great extent. But I do also think it was the fact that at the time, for many years, we were two of the biggest clubs, probably the two single biggest clubs down in League Two. And we were always sort of battling at the same end for quite some time. And I think that did cause a little bit of spice. Them, taking the title away from us on the last day added to it a bit. And then when we went up to League One together, we were both sort of on the periphery of the playoffs that first season back up. So, and of course, them having the 3 year in a row last minute equalisers against us to draw 2-2. Comment coming up from George saying had more shots in the par before the game yesterday than the team had on the pitch. George, if you were listening at the start, you would know Aaron's already done that pun. But thank you very much for it anyway. Great minds really do think alike, eh? Yeah. So look, where was I with Pompey? It's a game where there's been a bit of rivalry, which I think is healthy. It did sort of wear away a little bit when Cook left Pompey and Adams left Argyle. It kind of became just another game to some extent, but it's two very vociferous fan bases, two very well supported clubs, two clubs who for some time played below the level where they probably should have been at, and two clubs who then eventually had a bit of a recovery. So, and games against them very rarely seem to be boring. It's the other thing. Always had either a 2-2 or a 3-1 or something. What I'll say is that they're due a win at home park. They've not had one since the August of 2015. We're due a win at Fratton as well, but they're very much due a win at home park. So it's going to be a nervous one. I think I've said myself, it very much is going to either make or break Rooney's strategy. If we win, then it will certainly if Whittaker, Al-Hajj, Obafemi, Randall have good games, it will entirely justify resting them, not taking the chance on them, and it will justify if we win. If we don't win, and certainly if we lose, then it's going to get very sour indeed, because it will have meant that all of this is for nothing, and we'll be going into an away game, which, as I've said many times, I have zero faith in us to pick up points away from home. And then if we don't win either Pompey or Derby, that will be winless from the entire run between the two international breaks. And if that happens, I think the heat will get turned up very, very high indeed on Wayne Rooney, unfortunately.
Just quickly,
in the words,
the Oxford English Dictionary defines derby as a word applied to any kind of important sporting contest, which you have just laid out why it is an important sporting contest for the two sets of fans. So it is a derby then.
John has done it. According to the OED, it is a derby. I take my hat off. Fair enough.
Because a geographical derby is a local derby. You have the qualifier
It's
local.
not a local derby, but it is a derby. Okay, I'll take that.
I personally thought we played Derby on Saturday, so yeah, not a problem. What else is there to say, really? Strictly Plymouth, John says Rooney on Radio Devon mentioned numerous times that he is more interested in Tuesday and pick the team accordingly. We've already been over that. A high risk strategy. Let's hope it pays off. There's a few starred questions. Where are they? When does the pressure start to build on Rooney? Is Tuesday pivotal in that?
Well, I think there already is some pressure. I mean, I would hope that no one is seriously arguing he should be out of a job now. But I think given his questionable record in management when we hired him and the fact that he is Wayne Rooney, pressure is kind of a default setting for him, right? So I don't know if it's necessarily the right way of framing the question to say that when would the pressure start to build. I think that there is already pressure.
Okay, John. Yeah. Will losing on Tuesday amplify the pressure to the point where Ian Foster style Preston levels?
No, because Preston came deeper into a period of malaise under Foster, and the football was very bad. And that was, I think, a large part of the reason why the pressure on him jacked up to that kind of untenable level so quickly. I could see it potentially being analogous if we play poorly and lose to the West Brom game under Foster, where we lost 3-0 at home last season. And it wasn't so much that Foster felt like the target of the fan ire in a very kind of personal way, like I'm led to believe he did after the Preston game, although I wasn't there. It was just more kind of generalized dissatisfaction, which I think then spun out of control into Foster's actual position becoming untenable fairly quickly. I think Rooney has more grace than Foster on account of probably the fact that it's Wayne Rooney for starters, but also the fact that the football has been entertaining, and also the fact that unlike Foster, he hasn't done himself any injuries in the way he communicates with the media and talks about the club and expectations and all the rest of it. However, obviously, it's a results business. There was rightly skepticism when we hired him, given his track record elsewhere, and it looked like he was proving all those doubters wrong, and now sort of looks like he isn't. I mean, I don't really think Saturday's result kind of deserves to be held. The actual result deserves to be held against him, particularly. And this idea is a risky strategy to rest people. Well, arguably yes, but I think even if Whittaker and the others had played, it might have been a different game. I still don't think we would have got anything out of it. So I'm not so concerned about that looking like it's backfired. But I think generally the game is very, very important. We have to be on the front foot. And look, circumstances matter, right? If we say get a 2-2 draw, but we play brilliantly and they score a goal that's offside, and then 35-yard screamer right at the end, sometimes you have to put your hand up and say they didn't deserve to We deserved to win that game. We didn't. I'm not saying it's like sort of a dispositive thing that we absolutely have to win. I think there was still a stage of the season where performances matter as well. But yeah, the very, very minimum, we have to play well and not lose the game. And I think as I said earlier, I see it as a must-win game just from a points perspective, given that they are right down there. I guess so. I'm contradicting myself. What I'm saying is I think people might be prepared to extend some grace if we don't win the game, but there are some positive signs. But yeah, it's hugely important.
Yeah, I like how you call Portsmouth right down there, and if they win on Tuesday and results go our way, we could be bottom, and we will be right down there. So that's fun. Sorry, Sam. Before you jump in, go on, jump in.
You
Whatever
sure?
you want to say. Yeah, go on.
I think there are basically 4 reasons why Rooney, despite actually not having a much better points per game record than Foster, is getting less flack from the fans. 1, because the football he's trying to play is a lot better, which John alludes to. 2, because he is much better media handling. He integrates himself. He's very friendly with the fans. He's always around the city. He talks a good game. It's the 2nd. The 3rd is, yes, because there is that little bit of starstruck celebrity aspect that is Wayne Rooney. And the 4th, and I think this one is really underrated, is because his points per game is more weighted to home games and Foster's more weighted to away games. Derek Adams, in my eyes, was never as popular as he perhaps should have been for a manager with the record he had in the first 3 seasons. I'm not saying he was unpopular those first 3 seasons, but he didn't get anything like the total adoration of a Paul Sturrock, Ian Holloway, Ryan Lowe, Stephen Schumacher got. And I think the reason for that is because Adams, despite us getting promoted, was more weighted towards away form, And I think with Foster as well, when it was home game after home game of losing to 0, it was 5 home games in a row of losing to 0 that we ended his tenure with, right? And when that happens, for each game, that pressure notch gets turned up a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, to the point where by the Preston game, it was a totally toxic, bubbling pot of anger, quite frankly. So what am I saying? I think that if we lose, certainly if we lose and play badly, I think I actually agree with John. It will be like the West Brom game in the sense that was the first explosion of real anger towards the manager, but not to the extent that people are chanting his name, chanting "your football is SHI," calling for him to go. Unlike Aaron, I don't swear on this pod. I recognise it is a family pod.
If anybody sits down and watches this or listens to it as a family, please do let us know, because I will call Childline for you. If anybody out there is subjecting their kids to over an hour of us sat here talking about Plymouth Argyle Football Club, I'll do the honours for you.
Very, very good. Anyway, where am I? I'm digressing a lot. But yes, I don't think this, if we do lose and play badly, I don't think it would be the pure hatred, shouting his name, calling for him to go that we saw in the Preston game. But I do feel for the first time he may come under real pressure, booing, moaning, and for the first time people starting to really question him. I think that's what this game will be if we lose. It will be the West Brom equivalent. If we then lose a couple more, then maybe a home game after that might be the Preston equivalent. But hopefully it won't get that far. That's all I'll say.
Joe, a couple of positives before we do predictions, and then we can wrap this up. Just want to hear about some of your favourite memories of facing Pompey. Obviously, Peter Hartley at the back post, Jervis, Jamil Matt come to mind.
Yeah, Yard Dog's header is top of the list, isn't it? The aforementioned Greg Wild winner as well. I think that's got to be in there. And actually, I would also say the 3-1 in the promotion winning season at home on the Tuesday night. Hardy brace, Sam, was it? Was it a Hardy brace? I know he certainly got the 3rd. That Portsmouth game at home was, for a league match in recent years, was one of the best atmospheres I think home parks had. I think the place was absolutely electric. And that 3-1 really was one of those really important home results, wasn't it? When the pressure was being turned up. I don't think it was too long after we'd been to Sheffield Wednesday and lost Cooper and Scar. So yeah, that's probably up there for me. I'd also like to wager that little period where Chris Clark had scored in the FA Cup, and we'd held the lead over them when they were a Premier League team, and we were gunning for a bit of a cup shock, but we
Wasn't
came
that
out on the
the
wrong end.
only
Look,
goal they conceded on the way to winning the FA Cup?
Quite right, it was.
yeah.
Clark on his debut. Can I give one a really good Pompey memory as well? Which I agree with all the ones Joe's mentioned, but I would also add, as well as the 3-1 win in the title season, what that was even better than that for me was the 1-0 home win against them in the 21-22 season, because that was coming into a very long winless run against Pompey. And in fact, that win in March 2022, we hadn't actually beat them since the Peter Hartley game. We'd had quite a lot of draws. We didn't lose very much. We had loads of draws against them, but we hadn't actually beat them from the Peter Hartley game in May 2016 all the way through to March 2022. And for a game that was a bit of a rivalry, bit of a derby, whatever you want to call it, that winless record against Pompey became more and more agonising. And the fact that was a tight, gritty 1-0 win under the lights at home park with a bouncing atmosphere, that to me, as a moment of relief of finally getting the win against them, was better than the 3-1 game for me. But they were both very good.
I enjoy the games against Portsmouth. I think they're always really good atmospheres. The games at Fratton Park often end it. We know it ends 2-2, so you might as well put that into your results books for the season already. So let's just see how Tuesday night goes. I'm really looking forward to it because I fully expect the reaction from yesterday.
Yeah, just going clockwise then. Let's just do quick predictions. I can't remember what I put in the predictions league, but I'll just give a different one. Joe, go clockwise from you. Do you think this has got 4-0 written all over it?
It hasn't. I think I'm going to stick with my predictions league. I think I went 2-1 Argyle. I think that's what I went for, and I'm on a little bit of a good run in the predictions league. I'm now off the bottom, and I'm pulling myself up towards the European spot. So, 2-1 Argyle.
John?
I said 3-0 in the predictions league that Joe refers to, that we've got going among ourselves. It reminds me a little bit of that Sheffield Wednesday game last season. This was obviously before Sheffield Wednesday became the world-beating side that they are today. And I think Roll had only just taken over. And my understanding of that game, which I didn't go to, is that we didn't necessarily play that well, but basically they were just horribly low on confidence. They weren't quite sorted out. Yeah, obviously Roll did a brilliant job in sorting them out not too long after that. But my understanding of the game is we just kind of got 2 quick fire goals and crushed their spirit, and then ran in a third in the second half, I think. So I could see it kind of going something like that, like not necessarily a 3-0 game in terms of the actual balance of play or dominance, but they just look in a bit of a fragile place to me. They're had a very tough start to the season, obviously, and look a bit shaky defensively, and I think we have the players to exploit that. So yeah, I'll say 3-0, but without the kind of emphatic performance that might suggest.
Yeah, there were signs that they might just be starting to pick up a little. They finally got they've still only won one game. They got the draw at home to Oxford, in which they played quite well. They finally got a win at QPR. So there were signs they were picking up a bit. And then they lost back-to-back to Cardiff and Sheffield Wednesday, who were no great shakes at all. But then they did quite well yesterday. They drew to Hull, but by all accounts, are the better team. Forced Hull's keeper into quite a few good saves. So
This very quickly before you give your prediction, this Cardiff team who aren't great shakes, is this a team that put 5 past us, drew 0-0 with West Brom, and then went and beat Norwich, who are managed by this wonderful Scandinavian genius that we were all told about in the summer?
Yeah, that one. No, okay, maybe I'm a bit harsh including Cardiff in that then, but they're on a good run, and obviously Pompey, as we did, played Cardiff at a bad time, so fair enough on that. But there are signs that Pompey are a little bit better than the team they were in the first 2 months of the season, but they just seem to struggle getting results done, don't they? And for all my valid criticisms of Rooney and for all that I've ranted, I do think we can get results done at home. So I think we'll win 2-1 with a late winner.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Just a 1-0 win. Bugger it. Adam Randall. Why not? Please. Love you. And well, I think unless you guys have got anything else to add, I've got one final question for Sam, but go on, Joe. Go.
I've just got one small bit, and it's something that gripes me every year. I presume, I don't know anything about this, but I presume, given the time of year it is, that this is going to be our remembrance fixture on Tuesday night, because this will be our closest home game to Remembrance Weekend. Please, can all those in Home Park just be observant of the minute silence and the last post and things? It really gripes me every year that football stadia up and down the country don't quite understand, despite this is now a yearly tradition, the what goes on with a minute silence and the playing of the last post for the Remembrance Sunday. It's a petty little thing, but please just be respectful in things, because obviously it's an important fixture in the footballing and English, the calendar for what it is. So just everybody inside Home Park, just be respectful on Tuesday night if it is going to be our remembrance fixture.
Yeah, I think it's a listening skills thing, really, isn't it? I don't think anybody's trying to be disrespectful, but they hear a minute silence will follow the last post, and then the last post plays, and they think that's the end of it, and they start giving it away, which is unfortunately where it goes wrong. So I think it's just a lack of comprehension that happens there. So hopefully now that finally enough times have done it now, where they've realised that they've gone too early, that they will now stop doing it, hopefully, because it's like you say, it's not really that hard to comprehend, is it? It's I shouldn't be laughing. It's not a particularly funny subject matter, but it's just how the hell they cannot get it after all these years. It's beyond me. But yeah, there we go. Very, very fair point, well made. From Joe. Aaron, you had something to ask me?
Yeah, one final question. It comes from a Mr. Pat Down. Obviously, it's been announced that Colleen will be joining the ITV crew in the jungle going down under. He asks, who will be out first, Colleen or Wayne? Is there a point where our form is really good while she's away and every Argyle fan just needs to be ringing up and voting and just keeping her in? Do the Tucker trials, and we'll pick up more points.
I think that the great British public are, as a average, far harsher on the Rooneys than Mr. Hallett, Parkinson, or Dewsnip. So I think Colleen will definitely be out before Wayne. And I think that Wayne will very much still be Argyle manager when Colleen is walking across the bridge with Ant and Deck. Whether that be rightly or wrongly, the next few games may tell. But I think that Mr. Hallett is not a sack-happy manager. We know this. Both of the sackings he has made have been when it's got to such a fever pitch that he's had no other option, really. He's not the type who will sack early. So unless something goes so catastrophically wrong that we can't even imagine, I would be surprised if Wayne were to be sacked before Colleen gets out of the jungle, for sure. But maybe we'll win the next 4 in a row and he'll be poached for the Everton job. Maybe that will happen.
I did see today that it was announced that Simon Hallett's attending a fans forum with the Cornish Supporters Association down in St Denis in early December. So maybe then, you never know, we might get an update on investment.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. The fact that he has to visit St Denis. People of a Roach prestige will know that's no place to go on a cold midweek night.
Aaron's Cornish, he's allowed to say that.
Up the clays.
None of us else could.
Nice. I think we'll call that a night, unless there's anything else we need to add on Tuesday. I think, like I said, we'll be on Wednesday night, 8-ish PM, maybe 7:45. Who knows? I'll let you know in a tweet, but we'll be joined by a Portsmouth, or hopefully be joined by a Portsmouth and Argyle legend who's been on the pod before. As I said,
and John won't be. We're being rested because there's more important fixtures in the future.
Exactly, being rotated as Joe will be hosting post Derby, not the Dockyard Derby, Derby on Saturday. Anyway, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Follow us on your podcast platforms such as Apple Pods, YouTube, and Spotify. And call that a night. Au revoir.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Aaron.